Welcome to another edition of the Major League Minors Show. I'm your host, Chris Dotson, and we're going to talk about semi-pro in the Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas areas. Today we're going to start off with the XFL, and we saw the Kansas Cougars face off against the Wichita Zombie Assassins in the battle for Wichita. By a score of 41-6, it wasn't much of a battle because the Kansas Cougars took care of house and just obliterated the Zombie Assassins. Next up, we saw the Northern Oklahoma Bulldogs face off against the Oklahoma City Jaguars. A little bit of a fight here, and it was actually a pretty decent game, but the Bulldogs took care of business by a score of 28-13. Next up, we saw a battle for fourth place as the Oklahoma City Bulls took on the Oklahoma Chargers. This surprised me a little bit because it was only a 2-point game. I knew this was going to be a tight one, but this is really even more tighter than what I expected. So the Oklahoma City Bulls, they face off and they won against the Oklahoma Chargers, who had a 500 season coming in, but will drop to 5th place. The Oklahoma Monarchs got a forfeit win by the Yukon Bobcats. Of course, the Bobcats dropped out a couple weeks ago due to attrition issues. So your XFL rankings this week, your number 1 Kansas Cougars, followed by the number 2 Oklahoma Monarchs. 3rd place, of course, is the Northern Oklahoma Bulldogs. And of course, the battle for 4th place, your Oklahoma City Bulls. The Chargers fall to 5th place, the Wichita Zombie Assassins, the Oklahoma City Jaguars, and then the follow-up, the Yukon Bobcats. Now the XFL, this is their last actual official regular season week, and you only have one game. The Oklahoma City Jaguars are going to face off against the Kansas Cougars. Now, again, this really doesn't have really much to say about what the rankings are going to be for next week, and also it's not going to really matter too much as far as the matchups for the playoffs in the XFL. But it has to be played, and the reason why I say this is unless the Kansas Cougars don't show up or show up with less than 11 guys, I don't think that the Jaguars really stand much of a chance or any chance at all to win this game. So my prediction this week is 42-6. Kansas Cougars. Next up, let's talk about the WXFL with your Oklahoma Lady Force as number 1, the Kansas Lady Cougars number 2, coming in at number 3, the Enid Lady Enforcers, followed by the Northern Oklahoma Extreme and the Kansas City Storm. Last week there was no games because it was an off week between this week's playoffs. Now, come to find out that the Enid Lady Enforcers were supposed to travel up to Wichita, Kansas to take on the Kansas Lady Cougars, but we just found out today that the Enid Lady Enforcers have forfeited this game, so they are out of the WXFL contention at this point. So the Kansas Lady Cougars advance on to next week as they get the forfeit 6-point win. Now, the only WXFL game is going to be played tomorrow at Capitol Hill when the Oklahoma City Lady Force face off against the Northern Oklahoma Extreme. The last time these two met, it was all Lady Force, and so my prediction, easy one for me, 21-0, the Oklahoma City Lady Force takes care of this one and advances on to next week. Now we're going to talk about the CFL, a lot of what's going on this week, which there are going to be some great games, and of course what's going on with the Oklahoma City Bounty Hunters right after this.
Automatic freshness, softness, and static control has never been easier with the Bounce Dryer Bar. I just stick it to the inside of my dryer, and I never have to remember.
Oh, Old Spice Body Spray makes you smell like power! It's so powerful it sells itself in other people's commercials. You smell like outdoor freshness.
You smell like power.
Yeah, I do. Power! Old Spice Body Spray can change a regular smelling man into a man who smells like power!
Now, how is this? Wow, you know what? I actually do feel more powerful.
Potato chips! Old Spice Body Spray will make you feel so powerful to blow your mind right in front of your face. Goodbye. Oh no! Power!
Welcome back. Now we're going to talk about the Central Football League. Now, to recap last week's scores, we saw the Enid Enforcers take on the Kansas City Saints. This wasn't much of a contest at all, as the Enforcers ran right all over the Saints by a score of 33-12. Next up, the Oklahoma Nightmare, another rebounding team who took a devastating loss a couple weeks ago, took care of business themselves by a score of 36-6. They seem to be getting right back on the track that they need to be on. Next up, the Green Country Phoenix, another favorite team that I really like seeing this year. They've really become the dark horse in the DCFL and are really setting themselves up for contention in the playoffs and possibly the CFL playoffs. They won this one by a score of 24-8 against the Southwest Gravediggers. Next up, the Arkansas Raptors faced off against the Sapulpa Panthers. The Panthers, a first-year team, have really had to take a few hard knocks this season, but I think that they just keep coming back for more. And I really like that. A team that can keep its composure and a lot of adversity. Of course, they haven't won a single game this year yet. They could possibly, if not this year, maybe next year, but I'll tell you what, I really respect a team like this that keeps coming back. But the Raptors themselves, by a score of 35-14, took care of business themselves. Next up, the Arkansas Tornadoes up against the Arkansas Steelers. The Tornadoes, another first-year team, have really put themselves in a good way this year. By a score of 20-8, they have really made themselves a contender in the DCFL. Next up, the Joplin Crusaders took on the Arkansas Guardians. The Crusaders won this one by a score of 25-12. It took the Crusaders just a little bit of time in the first half to get things clicking again. They've taken some key injuries and are trying to figure out ways to win the close games, and they are right now. So I wouldn't count out the Joplin Crusaders out of the CFL contention just yet, even though some people think that they're kind of on the way down this year after some adversity with the Enid Enforcers. This is a team that knows how to win, especially in the playoffs. Last up, the Queen City Grizzlies faced off against the Arkansas Battle. Some of you guys saw this, the Battle really just take care of business. They really ran all over the Grizzlies. Again, I think the Battle are in contention themselves to possibly win this year in the 2016 CFL Championship. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled on this one. Now, the rankings for this week for Major League Minor, you're going to see, of course, no surprise, is the #1 Eden Enforcers, the Oklahoma Desperados coming up next, the Arkansas Battle, followed by the Joplin Crusaders, the Oklahoma City Elite keep inching up, the Oklahoma Nightmare, the Green Country Phoenix, #8, the Queen City Grizzlies. #9 comes in with the Arkansas Tornadoes, another DCFL favorite. The Arkansas Guardians follow up with your top 10. And then down the list, we're going to see the River Valley Reckoning, Kansas City Saints, Arkansas Steelers, Southwest Gravediggers, the Arkansas Extra, the Arkansas Raptors, the Sapulpa Panthers, and of course the Wichita Assassins rounding it out. Now, we're going to talk about predictions this week. There are some really great games going on this week, and honestly, it's hard to put yourself into two places at once, but if you're going to be at one and you can't be at the other, there's actually ways to watch both of them at the same time. We'll get to that here in a second. Now, the first game, of course, the Oklahoma Nightmare facing off against the Oklahoma City Elite. This is going to be a tough game. This is going to be a scrappy game because both of these teams, they want to win this one. They really think that they can get into the playoff contention and possibly win it themselves, so they're getting themselves in the best possible way for home field advantage, and this game is going to take a lot of gumption for them to get there. But my prediction here, by a score of 17-14, I think the Elite have found a way offensively to get the ball down the field. Now, this is going to be a scrappy game, and I love scrappy games. If you can be in that area to watch it, definitely watch this game. It's going to be fun to watch. Next up, you're going to see the Northwest Arkansas Battle face off against the Arkansas Extra in part of this year's Arkansas Football Association 2016 State Championship Tournament. This is something that some of the Arkansas teams got together and really trying to battle off to find out who's best in Arkansas. It's comprised of 4 teams, the Northwest Arkansas Battle, the Arkansas Guardians, the River Valley Reckoning, and of course the Arkansas Guardians. The Arkansas Extra. So this year we're going to see them start face-off in 3 different times, starting this weekend, next weekend, and finishing off on May the 14th. So this game, the Northwest Arkansas battle, I give this one an easy one, 21-3 victory. Next up in part 2 to this AFA tournament, you're going to see the River Valley Reckoning face off against the Arkansas Guardians. I think the Guardians really take care of business in a close game by a score of 14-10. Next up, we're going to see the Joplin Crusaders travel up to Springfield to take on the Queen City Grizzlies. I think the Crusaders cruise right along. It'll be tight in the first half, but I think the Crusaders will smooth right along in the second half by a score of 28-14. Next up, the Arkansas Steelers are going to take their shot at the Green Country Phoenix. But I think the Phoenix have got enough steam to take care of house, so they're going to win this one by a score of 14-6. After that, the Southwest Gravediggers, they're going to take on the Sapulpa Panthers. They're going to travel up there, but I think the Gravediggers get another win by a score of 14-0. The Arkansas Tornadoes are going to face off against the Arkansas Raptors. Again, I think the Tornadoes take care of this one by a score of 14-3. Now, here we go with this week's Major League Minor Game of the Week. You're going to see the Oklahoma Desperados face off against the Enid Enforcers. Both teams undefeated, both teams hungry, both teams knowing in their head that they are #1 in the CFL, and they're going to prove it this weekend. If you're in this area in northern Oklahoma, you got to go watch this game. This is going to basically decide who's going to be in the best contention possible for the CFL this year. Now, I know that a lot of you thinking out there that, boy, the Desperados, they really got it going on, and they really do. No offense by any means, but this prediction, I'm going to go with my gut on this one. It's going to be a really tight game, but I believe the Enid Enforcers are going to win this one by a score of 21-17. The reason being is that the Enid Enforcers have really had a history of knowing how to pull off the close games. They've had a lot of time with themselves, playing, of course, with different players, the coaching staff. They know what it takes to win these close games in a close battle. The Desperados, of course, this is their second or third year. They themselves have had plenty of time in the XFL to really sharpen their talents. But I think that this one, of course, my gut instinct on this is going to be the Enid Enforcers on a close one. Now, the Kansas City Saints, they get a bye week, of course, from the Wichita Assassins forfeit win. So that's pretty much it for the CFL. Now, we're going to talk about the Oklahoma City Bounty Hunters this weekend. They're going to be playing at Capitol Hill. And, of course, they have a main attraction coming into town. Dog the Bounty Hunter's son, Leland, is going to be in town. I'm pretty sure he's going to be signing autographs. He's already done a couple of excerpts on local television and media. If you're in the Oklahoma City area, you're going to want to watch some great football, drink a beer, meet a celebrity. It doesn't get any better than this in AAA ball. You got to go down there and watch it. We'll keep the scores posted up, of course, on Major League Minor, MajorLeagueMinor.com, and if you do follow along with the Southwest Minor League Sports page, this is kind of our Facebook group. Just avoid Mondays. You'll understand why. Anyway, so go watch some football this weekend. There's action-packedness everywhere. You're going to enjoy it. Stay away from the tornadoes today if you can in Oklahoma, and then of course Missouri and Kansas. I wish y'all well if there's any damage. Anyway, up until next week, until next time, I'm Chris Dotson reminding you to go watch some football.